Okay. Yesterday we took how Yvonne's wish to give German O-level examination. What was a conversation which went through governor of the Oxford prison where Yvonne was lodged at present, and the secretary of board examination, about the German tutor who used to come every night to teach Yvonne the German, and he was the only one in the Oxford prison who was appearing for the German O-level examination. Now what happened on the day of examination? At 8:30 the following morning, Yvonne's had a visitor. Two visitors, in fact. There were two visitors. Is it clear? He tucked his grubby string vest into his equally grubby trouser. So what happened? He was wearing a waist means banyan, string, galleys one. Grubby means not of his size, very loose, into his equally grubby trouser. The trouser which he was wearing, that was also grubby, very loose, and he has put his waist in that trouser and stood up from his bunk smiling cheerfully. Morning, Mr. Jackson. This is indeed an honor. So two people had come to meet Yvonne on the day of the examination, and he knew those two men. So he called that man, Good morning, Mr. Jackson, and it is a very honor for me that you have come. Jackson was the senior prison officer on D wing where Yvonne was lodged, and he and Yvonne had already become warm enemies. Warm means not very good relation. They were not in a very good terms. At Jackson's side stood Officer Stephen, a burly, surely looking man. Means burly, surely means very normal man. Only recently recruited to the profession. Means recently he had joined the office. He had joined the Oxford prison jail. So he was junior of Mr. Jackson. Jackson nodded curtly. Curtly means in angry. And how's our little Einstein this morning then? So he made a sarcastic comment on Yvonne and calling him Einstein. Was it a mathematician, Mr. Jackson? Yvonne is saying, Mr. Jackson, Einstein was not a mathematician. Why you're calling me? And I think he was a Jew also, Mr. Jackson. And I'm a Christian. He was a Jew. Yvonne's face was unshaven. Unshaven means he has still not shaved his beard. And he wore a filthy looking red and white bobble hat upon his head. He was wearing a hat which was dirty. Filthy means untidy. Red and white bobble means there was a patches, red and white hat was there. Give me a chance, Mr. Jackson. I am just going to shave when you burst in. So he's saying, you give me a chance, Mr. Jackson. I was about to shave my beard or a mustache when you had come and met me. Which reminds me, Jackson turned his eyes on Stephen. Make sure you take his razor out of the cell when he's finished scrapping. Scrapping means removing that ugly mug of his. Ugly mug means that ugly, the dirty, you can say, unpleasant beard or mustache from his face. So he gave a order to Stephen, his junior, that once Yvonne finished off with his shaving, Stephen should take away his razor. For a few seconds, Yvonne looked thoughtfully at the man standing ramrod straight. Ramrod means stiff, means absolutely straight without doing any kind of movement. Ramrod straight in front of him. For a few seconds, Yvonne looked thoughtfully at the man standing ramrod straight in front of him. A string of Second World War medals proudly paraded over his left breast pocket, Mr. Jackson. So he saw a man, Stephen. There was a Second World War medal which was there on his uniform. Clear, which shows that this man was given an honor. Mr. Jackson, was it you who took my nail scissor away? Yvonne had always worried about his hands. So he asked Jackson, Mr. Jackson, it was you who have taken away my nail scissor. Nail scissor means nail cutter. And your nail file too. Nail files are there after trimming the nails, you just give a shape to your nails with that nail filer. So he said, yes, I have taken your nail cutter also and I have taken your nail file also. Look for a moment, Yvonne's eyes smoldered dangerously. Smoldered dangerously means there was a anger, a fire into his eyes. But Jackson was ready for him. But Jackson was prepared. He knew what answer to give. Order of the governors, Yvonne. Jackson is saying, I have taken away your nail cutter. I have taken away your nail file because it was an order of the governor that no sharp object should be left in your cell. He leaned forward and leered. Leered means showing his teeth, his voice dropping to a harsh, means he was talking. There was a rudeness in his voice. Arrogancy was there. Contemptuous whisper, he said in a very cold voice, which could make a person blood freeze. You want to complain? You want to complain about me? You go and complain that I have taken your nail cutter and nail file. Yvonne shrugged his shoulder lightly. Shrugged means he just shrugged his shoulder. The crisis was over. Crisis was over means I only wanted to know. You have told me and everything is now sorted out. You have got half an hour to smarten yourself, Yvonne. Is it clear? Jackson is saying you are having only half an hour to prepare yourself for the examination and take that bloody hat off and remove that hat. Me, hat. Yvonne put his right hands lovingly on top of his filthy, untidy woolen hat and smiled sadly. Did you know, Mr. Jackson? It is the only thing that ever brought me any sort of luck in my life. Do you think? This hat has always been a lucky for me. It's a kind of lucky charm for me. If you know what I mean. And today I thought, well, with me exam and all that. Well, today is my big day. It's a great day. And I need what? A good wishes. I need a lucky charm to give my exam. So I need this hat. I'm not going to remove this hat because it is my lucky charm. Buried somewhere in Jackson was a tiny core of compassion. Buried somewhere in Jackson, though Jackson might be looking very rude, very arrogant, very haughty, but somewhere there was a kindness in his heart. And Yvonne knew it very well, though Jackson might be very strict, very arrogant, very haughty, but he is also having a compassionate heart. And he knew it very well. And so what Jackson did, just this one then, Shirley Temple, if there was one thing that Jackson generally loathed about, hated about Yvonne, it was his long wavy hair and get shady. Is it clear? So he allowed Yvonne to keep the lucky hat with him, but he wanted Yvonne to cut his hair because he hated his hair, the long hair, and also told him to get his face, that is mustache and beard, shaved. At 8:45 the same morning, Reverend Stuart McCleary left his bachelor flat. Bachelor flat means he was unmarried. Parson generally they marry, but he was unmarried. In Broad Street, he lives in a Broad Street, and stepped out briskly means fastly. He was walking towards Carfax. Carfax is a place. The weatherman reported temperatures considerably below the normal for early June. So the weatherman, they had predicted that that day the temperature would be less as compared to other days. And a long black overcoat he was wearing. He was wearing a long black overcoat from neck till the knee, you can say, or below the knee, and a shallow crown clerical hat, and he was wearing a crown shaped clerical hat, the hat which maximum people wear it, the people who are going for a office work, provided welcome protection from the steady drizzle. His hat he was wearing a long coat because according to the weatherman, it might rain that day. Drizzle means the soft falling rain. Clear? When it rains very heavily, we say it is raining like cats and dogs, which has set in half an hour earlier. Means already half an hour earlier, there was a drizzling, as predicted by weatherman. So he had wore a long coat and a hat to protect himself from rain, from getting wet or drenched in case if it rains, and which now splattered the thick lenses of his spectacles. And he was wearing a spectacles whose lens was very thick. In his right hand, he was carrying a small brown suitcase, which contained all that he would need for his morning duties. That is, he was going to be the invigilator for German O-level examination, for which Yvonne was sitting for it. So he was carrying a suitcase which was having a question paper, answer sheet, and all the other things which is required during the time of examination, because he was an invigilator, including a sealed question paper envelope, a yellow invigilator form where you fill it, a special authentication card, that is an I card from the examination board. Is it clear? He had got an I card, which like you get an I card, you get an admit card, which may allow you that you can give your exam. You are a genuine candidate for appearing in exam. So he was also carrying an I card, which was issued by the examination board office to prove that he was acting as an invigilator appointed by examination board. A paper knife to open the seal of the sealed question paper, a Bible, because from after conducting the exam, he is going where? He will be going to give sermon to those two ladies. So he was carrying a Bible. He was to speak to the women guild that afternoon. Is it clear? On the book of Ruth, and a current copy of the Church Times. And then there was a current copy, you can say a book or a newsletter, the Church Time. Church Time is the name of that, you can say, booklet. The 2-hour examination was scheduled Jobia Bolo to start at 9:15 a.m. So it was 2 hours examination. Evans was leathering his face vigorously. Means he was applying that leather to shave. Shave करने से पहले you put a foam na, the cream, shaving cream. So and when you just apply it, it forms a leather. So he was vigorously rubbing his face. There was a leather foam on his face. When Stephen brought in two small square table, there was two small square table, and set them opposite each other in a narrow space between the bunk. Bunk is a trunk or a bed. Bunk is a bed on the one side, and on the other a distempered stone wall. The wall of the prison was made up of stone, but distempered means there was no paint on it. Next, Stephen brought in two hard chair. Two hard chair means there was no cushion and all. The wooden chair, you can say, the slightly less battered. The condition of the chair was not good, of which he placed in front of table, which stood near the cell door. So what happened? Stephen had made a sitting arrangement inside the cell of Yvonne where the examination would be conducted. There were the two small square table which was placed opposite where Yvonne will sit opposite to McClary. There were the wooden chair. Is it clear? Whose condition was not good. The cell where Yvonne was kept, it was not colored. Whitewash had not been done. It was totally made up of stone. And then it was placed near the cell door. Cell door means the door of the cell inside Yvonne's cell where examination is going to be conducted. Jackson put in a brief final appearance. He just came last time. Now he's coming saying, behave yourself, laddie. He's telling to Yvonne that behave yourself very well. Laddie means boy. Yvonne turned and nodded. He said, yes, I'll behave very well with the invigilator. And these, Jackson pointed to the pin-ups. Off. Pin-up means was there, said remove it. Yvonne turned and nodded again. I was going to take them down anyway. A minister isn't. The chap coming to sit in, I miss. I know the chap who is coming to take my exam was an invigilator. I know about him, that he's a pastor. And how did you know that? Jackson asked, how did you know that about the invigilator? Well, I had to sign some form, didn't I? He said, how could I don't know? I have to sign some form during the time of filling the examination. So I know. Yvonne drew the razor carefully down his left cheek and left a neat swath. Swath means a foam in a white feather. Can I ask something, Mr. Jackson? Why did they have to bug me in this cell? Why they have to put me in this cell? He nodded his head vaguely, means roughly, to point above the door. Not a very neat job, conceded, agreed Jackson. They are not. They don't honestly think I'm going to try to. Means they are thinking that I'm going to try this opportunity to escape from the jail. They are taking no chances, Yvonne. Nobody in this sense would take any chance with you. Nobody wanted to take any chance with you because they know about your past history. So not a slightest mistake. There would no room for a slight mistake also. So nobody is taking a chance. Who is going to listen in? Who is going to listen? I will tell you who is going to listen in, lad. It is the governor himself who is going to see. He don't trust you. A bloody inch means not a inch also the governor trusts you. And nor do I. Even I also don't trust you. I will be watching you like a hawk. Hawk देखा है, like an eagle. Eagle, बाज की तरह मैं देखूंगा. He wants to keep your nose clean. Keep your nose clean means keep your mind clean. Don't think about escaping from here. Clear? He walked towards the door. Yvonne nodded. He's already thought of that. He had already thought what to do. And number 2, handkerchiefs was lying ready on the bunk. 2 handkerchiefs were lying on the bunk on that bed. A neatly folded square of white linen. So those handkerchief was neatly folded and the handkerchief was of off-white and the fabric was linen. Just one thing, Einstein. Jackson always calls him Einstein. What? Good luck. He said best of luck. Till here it is clear. Best of